You're listening to the High Alpha Hooligans podcast with your hosts, Fifi, Scud, and Jimmy Chaos. Fire up those afterburners and let's dive in. Rifle Kazoo.
Welcome to High Alpha Hooligans, everybody. I'm Scud, and as always, we have Jimmy Chaos, and we have Fifi back with us again. We've got Grey Wolf with Mini-Me Grey Wolf,
Yeah.
at least
Great
right
pup.
now.
Great pup.
Great
Yeah.
Great pup. I love that. And we have Iron Mike with us now. And Iron Mike, thank you for joining us. For those of you who do not know, Iron Mike is he's Heatblur. He's yeah, is that the best way to say that? He is Heatblur.
Tiny part of it.
Tiny part of it. So that's what the topic's going to be about today. We've got obviously Grey Wolf has done work with Heatblur, and he's been on a bunch of times. But now we've got
Because he's basically a
we're
regular. 'Cause he's
digging
basically a
deeper.
regular.
beyond
We have-
just the not
We have
just but beyond
Jester's master and
yeah, I was gonna say beyond the voice of Jester, we have the puppeteer behind the scenes pulling the strings.
I was gonna say
to talk about
I was
Go
gonna, I
ahead.
was gonna say Daddy Wolf.
Grandpa Wolf. Yeah.
Daddy Wolf.
White Wolf.
There you go.
So we're gonna be talking, yeah, White Wolf. We're gonna be talking about Heatblur, talking about what we love about some of the modules that the modules that they put out that we fly, kind of how that process of designing and choosing modules goes, what's kind of going on in the future, and we're just gonna have a casual discussion about them as a development team. But first, let's let Iron Mike tell us a little bit about himself.
Tell us about yourself.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me, first of all, and thanks for hosting the High Alpha Hooligans podcast. I've been enjoying it ever since it launched. Very nice episodes with Grayson and also with Vulture, who's an absolute hoot, I think, as you all discovered.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, we're very grateful for him. He was very instrumental in the making of the F4 and giving us the good kind of info that we needed and feedback and so on and so forth. Briefly to myself, short version is I'm the lead producer from Heatblur, kind of responsible a little bit for everything. What I don't do is coding. Okay, so me and math doesn't compute unless it's aviation related in a cockpit, in a virtual one at least. I don't fly in real life. But basically I do a little bit of everything in terms of, managing the team and of course Heatblur in itself, then managing our SMEs, lead Q&A, community management. I directed the Jester AI and wrote or co-wrote most of the lines. It's a special process that Gray and I had, with a lot of improvisation, kind of writing on the spot things. So, we're kind of co-authors in that. And then I did, I think, most of our missions for all our modules, the campaigns and instant action missions and all that kind of stuff. Then, of course, Grey Wolf did a lot of missions and Grimes as well and stuff. So it's a bit, in German we say it's girl for everything. So that's a little bit my job, is to fill in the gaps, help developers come to, find design decisions, whatnot, and help them in their process and so on. Yeah. So that's kind of like the gist of what I'm doing with Heatblur. And I've been with Heatblur for almost a decade now.
That's awesome.
Outstanding. Super happy to have you here.
Thanks.
We have to start off to get to know you a little bit. We have a few questions just kind of about
Sure.
you, and then we'll jump into the team, the development. What got you into DCS? Were you already into DCS before Heatblur came along? Did you join Heatblur and that got you interested in the game? What was the How was the connection between you and DCS melded there?
So my start in DCS was way back in 2000 and I don't know 3, 4, something like that. It wasn't there was no DCS back then yet, right? There was still Lock On, and then Lock On Flaming Cliffs 1.12.
So you were like the first DCS customer.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It was me and Iron Mike.
Yeah,
We
I
found
mean,
the originals.
It's kind
We
of
found the
it's
originals.
kind of
Yeah.
crazy, you know. We've been at this for more than 20 years, and that's just like DCS because Lock On, if you will, you know, it's the predecessor of DCS, and
Mhm.
DCS really is a continuation of Flaming Cliffs. Not a continuation is probably the wrong thing to say. But it's built on that, right? I mean, there was Flanker 2.0,
Sure. Yeah.
Flanker, then Flanker 2.0, and then there was Lomac, we called it back in the Lock On Modern Air Combat, it was called. Shortly, everybody called it just Lock On. And then the Flaming Cliffs expansion happened, which was kind of like the first Wowsy. I remember, you know, watching tutorials back then, being completely intimidated by it all. And there was this guy who was called Iron Hand, and he did a tutorial on how to join online, and he showed two A10s flying information together, and then he said at the end, and now imagine the guy sitting next to you is an actual human. And that kind of blew my mind, you know, if you put that in perspective.
Mhm.
Back then that wasn't as common as it is today, that you just jump
Yeah.
in multiplayer, you know. And I said, I gotta try
Yeah.
this, you know. So I mustered all my kind of, you know, confidence and joined the 104th server. And I think I spawned in an SU-27 at Sukumi, taxed it out, took the runway, and the moment I take the active, there's a loud boom just right next to me. And it was 44th Etherian, who crashed into the ground because I didn't look that somebody's landing while I'm taking the active. You know, that was my very first online experience. And the guy started shouting at me, you know, like, hey, can't you see that I'm landing and stuff? And I was like, oh no. I was completely lost.
Some things
you know,
never
yeah, I
change.
was completely lost when I took off. You know, I didn't know where anybody is. It was like that Top Gun Hollywood, who, you know, like,
Where'd he
where do you
go?
go? Where do? Like, it was really tumbleweed all through. And I joined the squadron back in the day. First, before I joined the 104th, was called the Ares Falcons, and it was led by a guy who kind of gave us the basics, which he kind of got from observing what the 104th guys were doing. And a group of us, Maverick, and I think it was Riptide and myself, we were like, nah, we kind of got to join the 104th because that was the place to be, you know, the 104th server. And those guys really kicked ass online. I mean, they were doing stuff like cranking when nobody even knew what cranking was, you know, like nobody had a clue what that is. And everybody was like, why is the 104th shooting down everybody? Well, they were cranking, they were using proper tactics and stuff. And so we applied there, and then it really took off, you know, because the 104th thing gave us this solid foundation in terms of like training to be good at, you know, air to ground, air to air, within the limits of what Flaming Cliffs offered. You know, there was no full fidelity. Black Shark just came out. That was the first full fidelity module, which blew everybody away, and it was compatible with Flaming Cliffs back then. So you had all the Flaming Cliffs players, you know, with those semi-fidelity Flaming Cliffs aircraft, and then the Black Shark guys and stuff. And then I kind of grew into this 104th thing very much, and we kind of grew the whole squadron even further from what it was. Then we joined. The 104th was basically the most popular server back in the day. There were not many servers. There was the 104th, there was the virtual aerobatics, been around since forever.
Mm.
Back then, there was still the Russian Air Force server. And then you had the 51st and you had the 4C or the 4S, actually the Serbian thing. And the community migrated kind of like they were for a couple of weeks, they were all on ours. And then for 2 weeks, they went to the 51st and then they came back to ours again. And so a lot of the beginning evolved around hosting and community building. A, because it was needed, there was not much, and B, because we wanted our server to be like on the top. So and there were some things in the beginning when DCS came out, there was this thing that the server would crash every 4 hours. So Maverick and I had to put alarm clocks while sleeping, and we took shifts in sleeping really to get up and restart the server so it wouldn't have downtime and stuff. So I think today the 104th is the longest hosting server in history with over 100,000 uninterrupted hours. I mean, it's kind of impressive if you think about it.
Wow.
That is impressive.
It's not as significant today anymore, and I actually like that because DCS took off later, and now we have Blue Flag and Jesus, all those Gray Flag. You have Contention, you have DDCS, you have so many great servers on offer. The Enigma Cold War, which is now the Hitler Cold War server, but of course to credit Enigma and what he built. The diversity that exists today didn't exist back then.
That's
And
cool.
so, it was very
cool.
easy to be also popular in the community because, if you were the guy hosting the one server that was available, people pretty much knew who you were. And it's actually this way that I got to Heatblur, not the other way around. So, and that kind of goes for almost everybody in Heatblur. We're all guys who come from the community and basically asked ourselves, what would like to see, what would we want to do, if we'd had a wish to do it. Cobra, of course, is the visionary behind all of it, who started Heatblur, or basically started back then Leatherneck Simulations, as it was called, which then split up into Heatblur. And Heatblur took the F-14 and the Viggen with him, and Leatherneck became Magna 3 and kept the MiG-21 and FOU Corsair. And the MiG-21 was the first third-party module in DCS, which Cobra started. So that's basically Heatblur were the first guys, though it wasn't Heatblur back then, to start this whole third-party thing in DCS. Yeah, that's basically how I got into DCS.
So Patient Zero, one of the first DCS players ever, on what was probably one of the first Milsim squadrons that's ever existed.
Yeah,
Back in the hyper lobby.
We have found the
I've-
source.
in the hyper lobby. Yeah.
We always talk about who was the first because you always like today's DCS stories always start with, well, my one friend wouldn't shut up and he made me try this and then I fell in love. But you were the first one.
It's like
That was
it's like
the
we
first.
found,
I mean,
like,
there were
it's like we
guys.
found,
There's
like, the
a whole group before they were called actually the 169th Panthers. They were the predecessor squadron
Remember
of
them
the
well.
of the 104th, and it was they had these. They were called the Black Sea battles, because back then in Flaming Cliffs you still had the Crimea portion of the map. Right now you don't have that. It basically stops at the Taman Peninsula and the Kerch-Bagherovo Strait, but back in the day, Crimea was part of it, and credit where credit is due. For that time, Crimea was beautifully modeled by Eagle Dynamics. You had all the landmarks. You had the Genghis Khan Palace. You had the observatories. You
That would
had
be
even
cool.
the little monuments
cool.
with the mounted MiG. In Sevastopol and whatnot. So you could do like historic flying. But anyway, they had these Black Sea battles and that was kind of like a very regular thing where everybody was slugging out, and that's where the 169ers then kind of came apart and became the 104th, and all these guys who participated in there were actually the first guys. They were my predecessors and the guys who taught me how to fly proper MOGAS and all those dudes, Polecat and Man War. I mean, these guys have been involved in this game. A lot of people don't know that, For example, Polecat hosted the Heatblur, not the Heatblur, the Eagle Dynamics testing server for over a decade out of his pocket. That's like a lot of these things that are given and granted today were actually pretty much private efforts by people who absolutely loved the game and gave Eagle Dynamics and Lock-On and DCS that initial support that it needed to find a footing in a way, and all these people are still around, they're not gone. I mean, they're just more in the background, and I think they're more enjoying seeing how the next generation now is really doing. I mean, it was pretty simple what we did. We had pretty straightforward missions, and now you have all this dynamic stuff and all those young modders and developers coming in. I mean, Grey Flag is a great example. They're not young, but they know how that modding part works, at least thanks to Grimes, who's our scripting god, but yeah, I mean, we were there back then, and today it's really here.
That's got to be fun to see the community grow and like the fruit of your investment, like actually grow something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only
I
imagine.
mean, the community is absolutely important to us because of it, I mean, it's a bit our legacy, more even than the modules, I mean, and you're right. Unfortunately, there's always kind of this loud minority, very vocal, a little bit toxic minority, but I don't, the best antidote for that is to not engage in that in a way, not fuel it further, and also to understand where it comes from a bit, because a lot of those guys in the community have been around for quite a while, and passion, unfulfilled passion can turn into frustration quickly. So I never took it as an offense or something, if we get some hate in the community or this, I always try to remind myself it comes from a place of passion. Those are just guys who really want something and it's not there, or, then of course you have all those foul apples who try to look for drama wherever they can, but that's just how life is, gotta avoid
That's
them.
That's a fantastic way to frame it.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. Yeah, I agree. I like that. So I have a burning question. I have a burning question, and I think we know where this is going. And I think I have to get this out of the way.
There's not gonna be a D.
You're gonna.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
So
I don't think that was the question.
No, it's not. It's not when I pee.
it's not.
It's not when I pee. So obviously,
you're going straight to this.
I'm going straight to this. I'm going straight to this.
Dang, BB's another person's punching bag.
I need this. Okay.
He fits right in.
Between the two modules, who would win in a dogfight? Who would win in a dogfight? Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt in a Mustang, or Sean Connery as James Bond in a Spitfire.
So this dates back to, I think, our second or third episode.
He watches.
Yeah.
He watches. He knows.
It's gonna be Ethan Hunt in a Mustang. And the reason is very simple, guys. Okay, Sean Connery, I think he was a good pilot. I mean, I think Paul Newman infected them all. I mean, Tom Cruise talks about how Paul Newman took him up, showed him stuff. But the dude was just so much older than Maverick, what I mean? So the reflexes are on Ethan Hunt's side. Yeah.
And there it is.
Folks. I like how Fifi says, "Suck it, guys." And I think you're the second person to agree.
You know what? It doesn't matter. He's still losing, but he's like, the hope is alive. It's like the hope is alive.
All right. Have you guys seen the meme of like the guy standing on first place podium and then second place podium, and the dude on third place podium's over celebrating? That's Fifi right now.
Take it.
All right,
ladies and gentlemen. Take it.
Great episode. Don't worry about
it. Gotta go.
Yeah. See, thanks, Mike. See, I have new friends. I'm gonna go hang out. I have new friends. I'm gonna go hang out. Keep our Discord from now on.
See ya. Bye, Felicia.
Yeah. All right. Don't let your own airplane hit you on the way out.
Okay, so continue.
Bear fill in for you.
So continue. So continuing the line of questions about certain aircraft. So questions about certain aircraft. So two-parter. What is your favorite module that you guys have put out? And then what's a favorite module that's not a favorite module that's not a Heapler module?
Well, that's very hard to answer. I mean, it's got to be the Tomcat. It's. I mean, how
You're
hard
back.
was it to? It's so hard to answer. It's got to be the Tomcat. It's got to be the Tomcat. I mean, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's
no, that's fair.
what
You're a
can you
man of
say?
refined
I
taste.
mean, I joined Heatblur just when the Viggen released, and I love the Viggen. I mean, the Viggen is amazing aircraft. It's quirky. It's something different. It's low. It's fast, and it delivers just a shit ton. Can I say shit ton? Is that okay? By the way?
Of course. Yeah, you're fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it delivers a
Yeah, you're
shit
fine.
ton of hurt. So it's awesome. Get in there, boom, and get out. But I joined, and here's another thing, right? Most of guys our age here, the 40s club, we're Generation Top Gun. Absolutely, we grew up with that movie. We were kids.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Probably it influenced some of you guys joining the Air Force in the first place. Maybe, I could imagine. It certainly would have me if I would have lived in the US. Wasn't very keen on joining the lame German army back then. That was kind of the perception, And as Germans also, we grow up with a bit more this restraint towards military, I don't know if you all know history, but
No,
referring to that Norm Macdonald joke, But no, the thing is this, I mean, we were influenced by this aircraft tremendously. I mean, that's cultural, absolute staple aircraft for us, and it is one of the most. And there's just something about the Tomcat, And it was even during development, even before it got all the textures. I'm pretty sure Gray remembers that. We talked about it often, Even in the sim, if you're next to it, there's something. There's this kind of aura and electricity that this aircraft just oozes, I mean, it's mind-blowing. And it's mind-blowingly clever for the time where it came out, Like if you look at it today and you think like, oh, that's an old bucket, But back in the day, that thing, what it offered, TWS, the AUG-9, I mean, the Phoenix missile, it was a monster, and it was the most effective weapon because it was so effective that it didn't have to fight. You know what I mean? It was so intimidating to its enemies. I mean, and that's the best weapon. It's the weapon that prevents you from fighting, right? I mean, it's no sane soldier wishes to be in a fight. That's movie shit. And so, the Navy had something that was the perfect fleet defender, in my opinion, because it had loitering time ad nauseum. It had this absolutely intimidating aura to all the enemies. I mean, we have so many stories from Tomcat pilots that they saw the Tomcat nails. They just turned around. They didn't take any chances with that. It has an extremely impressive track record in the, of course, Iraqi war, where it shot down a shit ton of stuff with the Phoenix missile and whatnot.
Everything.
But yeah, I mean, it's just this, and then you have the whole, Jester thing and so on. So yeah, it's got to be the Tomcat. But that said, I mean, the F4 comes in a very close second, simply because it's also such an absolutely iconic aircraft. I mean, it's the most used aircraft in the world, I think, with over 5,000 frames built. I think it was flown by, I forgot those numbers. I could rattle it down around release very well, but a year later you start forgetting all those little details again. But yeah, I mean, I think it served 17 or 20 nations or something like that, I mean, or 12.
It's still in use with too.
Yeah, it was
right?
20 plus.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's just like the Tomcat. It has the aircraft I like are the ones that express character. It's the same like with sailboats, I mean, like you can have a very modern sailboat and it's just like, plastic catamaran kind of like thing. Or if it's a monocoque, doesn't matter. But then you look at those classic ones from the 1920s and stuff, and how they lay in the water and how they break through the waves. And those are boats that reveal character at any moment you're sailing them, and the same is with aircraft, you just have some aircraft that reveal the Intruder is another such aircraft. You could say like the Intruder is goofy looking. It is, but in a very, very good way. I mean, you can't deny it. If you look at the Intruder, there's just something cool about it. And the same, I think, is true for the 105 or whatever. But the thing is this, I mean, I like those a little bit older aircraft that have something iconic about them, that have a little bit of a quirky design, But when you look at it and then you realize, man, this is actually a really clever solution to a very, very difficult problem. One of those, I think, for sure, is the Blackbird, which is just coolness impersonated. I mean, if you think about it, they did it without computers, right? They designed all that shit on paper with a pen,
with just raw math.
Just raw math and drawing lines, classic, and they come up with, well, we can't seal the tanks. Well, let's use titanium, it'll expand, and then, we'll have just the drainage on the tarmac, and we'll get in, like, it's insane if you think about it, The thing, if you don't manage to refuel with it after you take off, basically that's it. You don't even have enough fuel to land again. Brian Schul talks about that. He said, like, he got shot down in Vietnam. That's his nightmares were taking off with the Blackbird at night in bad weather and having to refuel right away. So, I mean, I can imagine that. But those things, they were built by men that had vision that went far beyond their time. And I guess the same is true also today for the F-35 and the F-22 certainly, and all that stuff. But it doesn't have that charm the old stuff had. And it's a bit with cars as well, If you look at the old muscle cars, the swagger, yeah. So and a module that I like that isn't. I mean, here's the thing. I always say, if it flies, it's cool. It's a freaking aircraft. So even a Cessna falls into that. I mean, and it's not a cool thing, but dude, if you tell me let's go fly in a Cessna, hell yeah. I mean, that's a fucking cool thing to do. Full stop. Same goes for glider aircraft or even an ultralight, whatever. But one aircraft I really love is the Beaver. I'm an absolute Beaver fan. I think the Beaver is one of the nicest.
Yeah, de Havilland is awesome.
And that engine, the startup of the Beaver, I think is one of the most goosebumps-inducing things in the world. And I just love it. There was a very, very great version in X-Plane 11. I think I forgot what something simulation it was called. It was basically one dude from Germany who's a crazy Beaver fan who devoted all his life to that kind of module. And it had that sound down to the T. It wasn't like really well simulated in today's standards. Without wanting to bash him, it was good enough for them. And there's now one in MSFS, and I just enjoy, flying the Beaver somewhere in Alaska and putting on either skis or floats or.
Dude, they are everywhere. Like, so Alaska, you can't go 7 miles without hitting an airfield or, a water airfield, runway for the flow planes, and the Beavers are everywhere.
It's one of my dreams. It's like here it's far away. So that's why it's more a dream for me, for you guys that stuff is closer. But one of my life's dreams is to go and fly in a Beaver, and
well, I got the podcasting couch, and come for a visit.
I'd take you. I might take you.
Yeah, I don't want to know what's on that couch. I don't want to know what's on that couch.
I think that there are airplane manufacturers, and I know we're straying away from DCS, but it's just a fun conversation, that there are manufacturers that are like jacks of all trade, and then there are some that are just really good at modern aircraft type stuff. But de Havilland found their niche for like backwoods stall aircraft and float plane aircraft, and they just
nailed it.
Went in a totally different direction, and everything worked. And they've got, they built the Twin Otter, which is another like they're just the utility of these airplanes that they build are phenomenal. With all that being said about this passion you have for aviation, I want to follow up the second half of Fifi's question. In DCS, what is your favorite non-Heapler module?
If we don't want to get you fired, we don't want to get you fired if you.
Here's the thing. I don't want to disappoint anybody. The thing is this. I really appreciate them all. And I always said, like, in the 104th, the F-15 was my thing. I mean, it's because it won. And we always admitted it. We wanted to fly the thing that wins, and that was the F-15 back then.
The old C model. Yeah, the old C model.
Yeah,
is
that
a
thing.
monster.
I mean,
Is a
I have so
monster.
many.
Yeah.
I think I have 15,000 hours in it or something crazy like that. You know, it's
Holy crap! Which means you're probably pretty excited for the full fidelity C model.
I am. And the E is great as well, and stuff. But what is my favorite module? You know, I mean, it's really
So we'll say you woke up, you know, you launch DCS and you get that, you know, what's that pop up says license expired, and it just says, you know, the Heatblur stuff. So Vigan, this Phantom says Tomcat. You're like, oh, my modules are broken. Which one do you fall into? You know.
You know what? I enjoy choppers a lot when I'm not doing fixed wing stuff. So I kind of like all the. I have a sweet spot for the Huey, which obviously isn't a super duper ordnance slinging machine, you know, but it is not
a shiny penny.
It's one of those things that has character, you know. I mean, the Apache is great. I like the Hind, you know. And it's really tough. It's not that I'm being reluctant to say it so I don't step on anybody's toes, you know. It's really tough for me to say, like, because my mood changes a lot, and I like to fly with my mood, you know what I mean? And I think life's too short to have favorites in a way. You know, it's the same for food. Like, people are, oh, this is my favorite food. Well, for me, that's all the food there is, you know. I mean, it's food. I fucking love it, you know. And the same is kind of with the aircraft is you know, there's got to be a time for, and I always liked, and here was another thing, you know, when we did the training, and in the 104th you train for about a year as a cadet, you know, so you get, first we do 2 months formation training with you, and then we go into weapons training and server flying and whatnot. And at least at my time, when I was virtual flight instructor there, I made the cadets fly in MiG-29s and Su-27s and stuff, because most people were not interested in that. You know, they were like, I want to be in the 104th and I want to fly the F-15. But the funny thing is, when you start learning modules that are less appealing to you, they start become more appealing to you, because you start discovering things that are fun with them. And I think every module has that kind of aspect, you know. I mean, I say it like this, okay? The Christian Eagle won't be my first pick in DCS, and neither will be the Yak 52, although they're both iconic, and bless those hearts who thought to put them in there, you know. I fully give them a thumbs up.
He just went Southern US on us. He just went Southern US on us with that.
But bless their sweethearts.
Yeah, bless their sweethearts. But you know, it's, yeah, I don't know. I really like the choppers to take time off from the. Enjoyed, you know, great times with the Gazelle, just shooting down people with a Mistral, unsuspecting guys.
Yeah, that's
like,
fun.
That's fun, you know.
Yeah.
I like the Mi-8 a lot. You know, the Mi-8 is like this flying sightseeing dome with a huge fucking glass front in the front and all that. I mean, yeah, from the fast jets, you know, anything that can land on a boat is already a winner for myself. So, you know, boat ops is just, you know, landing an aircraft is great, but landing on a boat is always even greater. So yeah, all those stuff. I fell in love with the Mirage very early on, I think, because the Mirage was the first kind of like full fidelity module that wasn't World War II. By the way, I enjoy World War II a lot. You know, I was a big IL-2 fan and stuff. So yeah, there's I think there's
all of it.
All of it. That's my answer. Yeah.
That's fair.
Sorry,
that's fair. That's fair.
No, you're like our spirit animal right now, because we'll get on one night and we'll just look and we're like, what do you guys feel like flying? And then we go through, like, you know, we scroll through the modules. We're like, we always end up like usually in like a certain 5 or 6, but there's always those nights where we do our Huey dogfights, and it is just so much fun. And just, oh my gosh, like everything. you're right. Every single aircraft is unique in its own personality, in its own employment, and like even talking back to like the MiG-21. The MiG-21, I think the coolest thing about that is when you go into full burner, and that rumble sound that's in that airplane is just like unlike any other module that's in DCS. And like every single
It's
module
Cobra.
has its own place. Yeah, it's fantastic. So I'm going to break script a little bit. We're going to ask this later, but I have to ask now because you said anything that can land on a boat is cool.
Except the Hornet.
When
Sorry,
that hurts.
Joke.
When do we get to land a?
Cool.
When do we get to trap with the Phantom?
That's a good question. Still gonna be a while, to be honest. I mean, it just takes time because there's a lot of changes between the E and the Navy, the Air Force and the Navy variants, and it's a lot of work, and the list is very full. That's just there's a lot of ovens, a lot of irons in the oven at the moment. So currently, we're trying to wrap up the F4 for MSFS, which is going to be very cool, by the way, because with the Anvil technology, we're bringing it over more or less one-to-one. So you will have the same flight model experience with it in MSFS that you have in DCS. So I'm very excited about that. Obviously, it's not going to have all the radar schnick-schnack and weapon stuff, which is, obsolete in MSFS. But other than that, it's pretty much one-to-one.
So
and then they'll go ahead.
I imagine for the Phantom, you have to probably drastically change the physics a lot, right? Because that's a more physically structured aircraft to be able to take that abuse, right? So you have to change a lot of the background of it, right? It's not as simple as throwing a hook on it and having it land on a carrier inside DCS, right?
Yeah, I mean, you actually can do that already, right? It does have a hook, and the cool thing is it's the Navy hook. They didn't change it into because the Air Force hook is more brittle. It's meant as a last resort on a runway, so it wouldn't hold up to a carrier landing. But the hook on the F4 is the Navy hook, is the proper carrier hook, and so you can take the F4E right now, lower the hook and land on the you won't get all the LSO stuff, it's not meant for it, but you can land with it. The taking off part's going to be a little bit more difficult because it doesn't have the launch bar and whatnot, and I mean it's also cool because I think what we want to do is also the brittle system, that flinked over the end of the carrier at the end, which is different from the steam cats that we have. But no, it's not only that, it's a lot of the cockpit changes, the nose changes. Then there has to be some changes to the flight model because slatted versus non-slatted version of Tier 4. It's not that much, but still, I mean, there's something. The nose changes, the radar in parts changes a bit. I don't have it all in my head right now, but it's quite significantly different to the E version. And then there's still the DMAS we have to do, we still have to do the targeting pod. We're currently wrapping up with the early A and the A6AI. That's going to come in the next patch. And then we already started working on the upgraded B version, the BU for the F-14, plus the Eurofighter, plus the flyable intruder, and we also have a few surprises in store.
He said it.
Which I can't really.
He said it. He said it.
So
he said
there's a lot of things happening right now, and that simply pushes the Navy F4 a little bit back. It's too early to say, when will it release. We all hope soon because, like I said, it's great when it lands. It's even cooler when it lands on a boat. And we all want to have that Navy Phantom for sure, but it's gonna be a little while still. That's one of the things that's unfortunate in DCS. The true fans have to have a very long breath and patience because these things take years to develop. And you talk about things, sometimes 1 or 2 years down the line, sometimes 4 or 5 years down the line, sometimes 6, 8 years down the line. I know guys who joined DCS as students or as basically as pupils still in school, waiting for the F-18, and actually became F-18 pilots in real life before the F-18 released in DCS. So, you know, I mean, it's kind of crazy if you think about how long you're with this hobby, and people who are new now, for them it's not as obvious because now they join and they just see this unsurmountable list of modules, and oh my god, what am I gonna get first, you know? For me, for years it's been like I already have everything, because that's also one of my favorite modules, is the one I can collect, you know. So and it always kind of pisses me off that I have everything in DCS and there's nothing I can get new. So I have over 700 add-ons in MSFS. And you know, it's that's a little bit of an addiction there to collect flight sim stuff and modules and airports and sceneries and all the crazy stuff you can think about. But yeah, I mean, you really need patience in this kind of hobby.
So you're telling me everything is not 2 weeks away from a release?
Yeah, well, it's exactly 2 weeks away from releases, but I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
perpetually 2
All
weeks
the
away.
time. All the time.
I want to switch gears just a little, and I want to talk about the company. I want to talk about Heapler. We have a few questions about that. I do want to preface this, and I've said it on past episodes, but I've never said it directly to one of the devs. Every time I mention Heapler, my wife thinks I'm saying Keebler, and so now, like, you know, the cookie company.
Did you guys like my picture?
Now whenever we talk about Heapler, I think of all the Heapler devs as just the Heapler elves. So, so moving on to talking about Heapler and all the Heapler elves. Can you just give us I don't want to just read the way the question was written, but I think it's just the overall driving goal, like the mission that pushes that team to put out what they put out.
Make planes to make people happy. That's it.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, that is couldn't do any better.
Well,
in that case,
you guys are winning.
Look, man, if you don't love your audience, get the fuck off the stage. Honestly,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I came from, you know, I started actually acting, and I was a director at the theater before I came to Heapler. It's a very weird kind of like, it's always like, you know, if I meet people from my uni and acting years, they're like, what are you doing? Oh, flight simulation. They're like, sorry, what? You know, and then when flight sim people say, how did you get into flight sim? Oh, well, I worked at the theater before. Like I said, what? You know, but
it's an obvious connection there, right?
Yeah. So,
but it serves me a lot, you know. And the one thing I learned there is, and I've seen it with some actors who were like, they talked ill about the audience. They're like, and I always wondered, like, then why are you going on stage? If you don't love those people who sit in front of you, why are you going on stage, you know? And the same is here. Like, you do that stuff to make, obviously we're a business, obviously we want to make money, obviously we want to make an earning and a living from it. That's very important. But the goal is to make the DCS community happy, and just to provide something that brings joy to people. There's all those sub things then, you know, we want to have something that is akin to a virtual museum. We want to preserve the history of these aircraft. We want to just get them right, yada, 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 you know. But the bottom line of it all is we want to make people happy.
You guys are doing a great job.
So speaking of making people happy, could we have like an option for the F4 especially, where we can make Jester not nearly as mean about your landings? It would be really nice.
Yeah, like in the specials menu, like a Jester nice, Jester mean check mark.
Positive only Jester under special.
Yeah, not
a Jester Fifi checkbox. That's what I want.
I'll say yes to everything tonight, and then just not deliver on it.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. No,
I'm going to hug it.
The obvious answer here, Fifi, is get good.
Man, you know what, man?
I love when the guests come on and slap Fifi around.
It's okay. It's okay because he answered P51, so nothing can ruin my
Also,
night.
it wasn't me that decided just this. I mean, that's naturally Grayson, you know. He just started rambling during the recording, getting all mean, and I was like, I'll just take that on board.
He's in character.
He showed his true self, and I was like, I'm all for it. Let's capture it.
Yeah, Iron Mike's his probably most used line to me in directing was less is more. I heard that one a lot.
It's fair. Well, until then,
I tricked him sometimes into thinking that we're not recording and just kept recording and just made him stupidly laugh about the most stupid stuff, you know. I was like,
Sneaky.
Well, until then, I guess I'll just keep compressing Jester's spine.
There's this line, you know, when you're dog fighting and Jester just goes, "Ooh, piece of candy." And that line also, he didn't know that I recorded that, you know. He actually found a piece of candy in his lap, you know, and he went, while we recorded, he went like, "Oh, a piece of candy." And I was like, I'm going to keep that.
Man, I got to fly the F4 now to find
I need to mute my mic.
I love that.
You'll actually find it in the F4 easier.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
There's a lot of those.
Love that.
We're going back to the ASMR files on this one.
Yeah, we got to go back. Yeah, we got to go
Well,
back.
you know, we did. I hope you watched the ASMR episode we did. We did a lot of Heapler stuff in there, and the sounds and the teeth chattering. We got to come back to that. The decision to put the chattering teeth when the plane is shaking is so brilliant.
I think originally that was
And
the
it's so-
Viggen
it's so
audio
blended.
file, wasn't it? I think, like when the canopy's open when the Viggen's in the winter. I don't remember.
I don't remember that either, but it's, I mean, so much in the meantime. You know, there's over 15,000 Jester lines that we recorded. It's kind of crazy. About it.
The fact that it's so blended in and all these just come together to create an environmental sound is great. But now that once I heard it, I can't unhear it now. So whenever the Tomcat's buffeting, that's all I hear now are the teeth shaking. It's brilliant.
Our SMEs scolded us always a little bit, you know. They're like, dude, it's Grumman Ironworks. It doesn't rattle that much in real life. But we insisted, you know, here's the thing, right? When you fly in real life, you have haptics and you can fly with your butt, right? You feel if it's going up, it's going down, if it's coming left, if it's pushing you into the sea or out of it. You don't have that in DCS. And that's also a lesson I took from acting. Remember, we played Faust. I don't know if you know that play. It's a very famous German play from Goethe. And he's drinking kind of like a witch's potion. And the director told me, like, act sick, you know. And I damn near straight started vomiting there on stage during rehearsal. And I'm like, Alex, are you sick? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, that was good, right? Right? It was like, no, that was god awful, man. You're gonna make the whole audience vomit if you continue with this, you know. And then she told me, she said, like, look, there's this span where we're at. She said, like, 100% realistic and 130% is unbelievable, right? The problem is this: on stage, as in TV, as in video gaming, if you're at 100%, you're not coming across. You're too little, actually. And if you're at 130%, you're absolutely unbelievable and unauthentic, right? So you have to be somewhere in that span. It has to be somewhere between a little bit less real than realistic, but not too unrealistic, you know. And that's kind of the philosophy when we do this, because in the end, it's also a video game. It's not just a virtual museum to walk around, you know. And that's why the rattling and the buffeting and so is so important, because it brings you that haptic feedback visually and audibly. And it's almost like you can feel it, you know, and you get this feeling also for when you fly the Tomcat a lot, you get the feeling for where your G's are at, where your speed is at, where your AOA is at, just by getting used to where that rattling and buffeting and all that shaking and squeaking is at. And that's where we said, we get you SMEs, but we're still going to make it a little bit more than it used to be. So
that really, I think, lends itself to really speak to how well you guys, people are put together modules, because you don't need force feedback. You don't need a butt kicker. You don't need all that fancy equipment, because when you take those aircraft and you start to pull, you know, like you said, you know exactly where you are because you have that visual representation, and the Phantom is fantastic with that. How everything shakes almost independently of each other. When you start to get into that hard pull, you got the vapors pulling off the wings. You know, just visually, you can predict where you're gonna, you know, hit that snap roll because of, you know, you have.
By the way, the Phantom has the
best
wing vapes in the game. Wing vapes in the game.
Yes, it does.
That's so incredible. But you know, it's funny how you said that. Funny how I love the fact that it came up organically in the conversation with the haptic feedback and stuff. Because a few episodes ago, we actually had a conversation about that when we were talking about the F4U Corsair. You know, when it was like borderline getting close to stall, and that was like one of our criticisms about it. Was the fact that it's a great module, but there was no feel to the aircraft, the fact that you guys, you know, that you just said, you know, that that's one of your big things that you like to do is make sure you create a feel for the aircraft. Since we know we're playing an aircraft game, is really incredible because you know, as guys who have flown, you know, aircraft and flown on aircraft and stuff, like, yeah, you know, it's just like driving a car. You know, it's just like driving a car. You feel it in a motorcycle. You feel it in your butt, and you feel it in your butt. And the fact that you were able to create that butt feel, that's weird. But the fact that you're able to that butt feel in the game like that is pretty awesome. It's pretty.
We got that booty talk.
That was really cool. That was really cool. It was really cool.
Feel it in your butt.
That was really cool.
The good stuff starts happening. No, but it's true, you know. And we talk so much about the flight because the flight model, you know, getting the numbers right is important, very important, right? You want to get it really close to it. And obviously, you know, this one thing we have to mention here. The DCS community is way more obsessed with realism in simulators than even the FAA is when it comes to D-class simulators. In parts not, okay? So there's stuff in D-class simulators that have to be way more accurate than in DCS, like the exact time the landing gear deploys or the flaps lower or this or that. We can be very, you know, ballpark it, right? But when it comes to flight model and performance, that's where the FAA actually doesn't care at all. It doesn't care if your 737 you know, climbs with 400 knots or with 200 knots, or they don't care. What they care is that the procedures are really precise and exact, right? But the DCS community is obsessed with performance, and they'll be like, oh, but it's 0.01 G off of the chart when it's on the sea level, you know. It's like no one tested it at 6 G at sea level, dude. You know, nobody knows. It's just it's a mathematical extrapolation. But be my guest, you know. But still, it's important to get it close there in the numbers. But then you talk about feel, and you're basically in a fantasy world because, like, you're not in the aircraft. It's just there on a 2D screen or in a 3D VR headset. And how do you capture that feel and essence of the aircraft and translate that on the screen and so that, because the holy grail for us is that the community is happy, but also that a former pilot, Viso, whatever, can step into that aircraft and he's immediately walking down memory lane and says, like, this is how it felt. This is how it flew. This is how it behaved, you know. It's very difficult to quantify these kind of things, you know. That's why SMEs are so important, because only they can give you that feedback, you know. Only they can tell you, yeah, more or less not, you know. You need that component to really dial it down and nail the flight model. And obviously the guys with the Vigan and the Tomcat and the F4 did an amazing job. And that's what I admire most about our engineers and coders, is that they can kind of capture these loose words that the SMEs are saying and translate it into freaking code that then translates again to flight model that yet again translates to something that really resembles real life, you know, and that somebody who's never been in this aircraft can have an experience and say, like, at least now I have a very good idea of what it was like, you know, because that's what I like. You know, one thing is that the pilot can walk down memory lane, and the other thing is that somebody who never got the chance to be a pilot, you know, for whatever reason, but always wanted to experience it, has now the chance to experience it.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that, selling that, making it feel that real is that immersion is the small details that are often overlooked. And like, for example, in the Phantom, the squeaking of the brakes, that could have been so easily overlooked, but that little subtle detail, those add up to create something that feels more tangible, even though it's just, like you said, on a flat panel or 3D VR, but it doesn't feel that way. It's very immersive.
Yeah, it's even and sometimes even the things that we cannot get that right yet can still make a difference. One of that is, for example, the parachute in the Phantom, right? You can blow it with your engines, right? If you come to a stop, it sinks to the floor, but then if you advance the throttle, it'll catch wind again and come up. And the animations and the physics are not really there yet, right? They're not the most beautiful thing, but still it makes a difference, whether it's just there or not, and we love to be, this is where we also run into the limits of the platform, that's another thing. And you got to give credit where credit is due. DCS offers the best possibilities to make great flight models. It's just how it is, the other sims are all great. I don't want to talk down on any, but DCS in particular just offers you the ability to make really to be really free in these terms, but then it has, of course, other limitations, how cool, because this is how they did it, they landed, they slowed down, and then they taxi it around the corner where you come off the runway. They would basically point their ass out to the field, blow up the engines, and then disconnect the chute, and that chute would blow out on the field. They would all pile up on one spot. Everybody would blow it on the same spot, and at the end of the day, the crew would come and collect all the chutes, right? That's how they did it. And it would be so cool if you could do that in DCS, that the chute is basically an object that remains an object in DCS once you detach it. That's a limitation at the moment, right? Once you disconnect it, it's gone. But
yeah. We can cut this out if it doesn't fit in right now, but we're about halfway through all the stuff we wanted to cover. Is this a good time to take a break? All right, welcome back. We're back after a break for the second half of our Iron Mike Heapler interview. We talked about, in the first half, about the birth of DCS and how Iron Mike was there and witnessed the birth of DCS and how that progressed through into Heapblr and all of the Heapblr modules that we have now. So now we're going to start talking about what's on the horizon and what's out in front. But I think before we do that, before we jump back into the depths of that content, there's some other stuff we can address. One is a question about your sim rig, Iron Mike, and we want to hear how you fly. Do you have a sim rig? Are you in VR, flat panel? If it's something built up, what's your equipment?
If you say laptop and an Xbox controller, I'm going to jump up and down.
Cobra, who flies with an Xbox controller, and he does 3 wires with it while standing next to the PC. But no, so I have, looking around, I have a lot of stuff. My first stick was a Logitech 3D Extreme Pro Force Feedback, which was crap. And the first game I played with it, I think it was called Blazing Angels or something like that. It was this really arcadey kind of World War II Spitfire game, whatever. And I think it flew different planes as well. But that thing, it wore out. The motor was shit, and it just, And then the next one I got was the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro No Force Feedback, which to this day I think is one of the best entry sticks you can get. It's solid, man. We kicked ass with it. You just grab a used X52 throttle on eBay or something, and you have the best, cheapest setup you can get.
Yeah, you can get them on sale for like $19.
That's what I flew on for the longest time. That's what I flew on for the longest time.
It's not a Microsoft Sidewinder force feedback 2, stick, which probably is the best kind of dogfighting stick till this day. But it's a solid setup, and we kicked ass with it a lot. And then I got the X52 Pro pre-Mad Cats, because SideTech was sold to Mad Cats in 2007. And that's where things changed. SideTech was actually really solid before that. And I could bite my ass that I don't have it anymore. And I also missed, I saw it in Vienna. It was there in the shop. There was a Thrustmaster Cougar for 200 euros. And I didn't get it because I just bought that. And I was a student back then, you got one stick for 200. Everybody I knew thought I was crazy. They were like, "You sure that gaming is not good for you, Alex? You should go more outside," that kind of
You'll
thing.
never make money playing video games.
Yeah.
Look at me now, Mom.
They were also, you're never gonna find a girlfriend like that, and lo and behold, she just wrote me on Facebook, and here we are. Didn't have to leave house, nothing.
Nerds will always win. Nerds will always win.
It. But anyway, so I had that X52 Pro. I don't have it anymore. I have a new X55. It's not the same thing. It's not as good. Then I have a Warthog. I have one of the first 50 Whirlpool Mongoose T50s that were made, or basically I have one of the first 50 sticks that were made from Whirlpool. I have Slaw Rudder paddles, which I absolutely love, handmade. They're very nice. 104th Virtual Fighter Bomber Squadron engraving on there. My prized possession. Waited a year for them. I have, of course, the VKB F14 stick. It's always, I can grab it here. Now the camera fell. There it is. That's not visible. Whatever. You all get the picture, right?
We're big fans of VKB.
Yeah, great developers.
So you know VKB. If you're, if you're what?
I think my Warthog throttle is at Cobra's place at the moment because he didn't have one, so he just borrowed mine. He lives close to me, and I use my X55 throttle a lot. I like it because it has the thumb rollers, and that's really great when you switch aircraft. Like, for example, it's great for, I don't know, radar, antenna elevation, stuff like that when you fly DCS. But what it's really great for is when you switch to World War II stuff and have prop pitch, because having that on the thumb is really, it's not great if you have it on anything else. It's not great if it's a back forth rocker. It's really great if it's a thumb roller. And that's why I really still have this trusty, gunky X55 thing here. And I like the flip switches. I'm not that much of a fan of the switches that stay in position, just because you're more versatile with modifiers when you have a flip switch. You don't have an on and off position, but you have as many positions with as many modifiers as you want. So I really like that about it. I'm waiting on some WinWing stuff, and it's another thing, collecting things that then keep collecting dust a little bit. I very rarely fly with my Whirlpool, I have to say, although I love it a lot, and I have the extension and desk mount and everything, the longest one you can get. And it has the Warthog adapter, so you can, change the stick for the Warthog stick and stuff. But the thing I really use the most is actually the VKB F14 stick, and honestly, I fly everything with it. There's no module that it doesn't have two little buttons. You can always work around with throttle or keyboard. I don't mind that. But the thing is this, right? When you work a lot and you do missions and you have to be back in the mission editor, it's a hassle to always put on the whole desktop mount, and then it's in the way. And the desktop VKB thing, I just, move in place, fly with it, move to the side, pull in the keyboard, work on stuff, keep it away, stick in, and that's simply why the VKB F14 stick is the most used, plus switching to guns.
I like that. Yeah, VKB, I think, is their sensors, and then their price point is fantastic.
Yeah, no, they're all but verbal. I mean, that also, unimaginable when we started flying Warthog, Thrustmaster Warthog. That was a thing, and we couldn't afford it when that came out. We were all students, and that was a thing that cost $350. Are you crazy? It's for a video game, Nowadays, I spent
so much money on it now.
10,000 euros down the drain, just for flight sim stuff.
What was the force
Are you
feedback? I'll take that.
Yeah. Are you flat panel or VR?
Flat pan. I'm a sucker for eye candy. I have to admit it, and I have a 55-inch OLED 4K, which I absolutely adore.
Holy cow!
Yeah, so it's like this in front of me, so y'all are. I see your beards very clearly.
We're life size.
You see the salt and pepper?
The salt and pepper, yeah, man. It's wisdom, sprinkled with wisdom. But yeah.
The next thing before we jump into the future of what's on the horizon from Heatblur, this is probably a good time for Fifi to hit you with some rapid fire questions. Guns hot.
Oh man. Okay. Oh man. So
I never get to know. So I never get to know what they are, and they're always like the highlight of my week.
So these are just quick questions. They're meant to be stupid. So just quick answers. All right. Here we go. All right. Guns hot. Here we go. Guns hot. One of these days I'm going to edit in one of these days I'm going to guns hot like flashy like guns hot like promo show thing. But it's probably going to be like in like guy with Quagmire shows up and think it's Quagmire. Giggity goo. Anyways. All right, so guns hot. Here we go. Questions: F-14 or Viggen? Which one would you personally take to the grocery store?
I think the Viggen.
Okay, yeah. They taxi on highways quite a bit.
Yeah, it's true.
No,
but
man,
the F-14
you won't get robbed.
The F-14 has the snack.
You won't get robbed with the Viggen that much. Doesn't draw so much attention.
And you can reverse out of your parking spot.
Yeah. You get reversed.
Oh man, all kinds of good reasons.
Yeah.
See, there are things to brawl and there are things to go shopping with.
Fair. All right. So who wins in a dogfight? Jester AI or ChatGPT?
Jester AI.
Oh, it probably just insults ChatGPT until it gives up. To be honest, still upset about that. Okay, so
an AI.
If the Heatblur office had a call sign, what would it be?
Heatblur?
Heatblur?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's. How many times a week do you wake up in a cold sweat, muttering? How many times a week do you wake up in a cold sweat, muttering something about sweeping the wings?
Probably daily. And more than once per day.
More than once per day.
So
sweep wings.
Yes, when I work and then it goes like, it's like type, and then sweep wings.
Okay. So be honest. Have you ever made Jester eject? Just to see what would happen?
Lots of times.
I mean, obviously you have. Yeah. Probably many times. Probably many times.
I tested it all.
Yeah, it's true.
The question is, have you ever done it upside down?
Lots of times. Dude, I tried to eject you into mountains, flying very close to it and then tilt so that it's pointing right at the mountain to see you go like straight into it.
Well, all you have to do is fly.
I like how he didn't say he does that to Jester AI.
He said
me.
He said I try to eject you into mountains.
So when you spend that many hours with each other, it's.
For people, that's Jester AI, but for me, that's always Grayson flying with me. That's.
Oh man. Let's see. What would you rather fight? One F-14 sized goose, or 100 goose sized F-14s?
100 goose sized F-14s. I mean, imagine being surrounded by 100 F-14s. It must be.
This-
You could lead quite the march that way.
True or false? The vegan was secretly designed to double as a Swedish IKEA flat pack jet.
True.
Okay, and so last one. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no? Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Depends on the time of the evening, you know.
No.
The drunker you are, the more yes.
So bad.
That's good.
So bad. That's it for the questions. That's it for the questions.
Love
Pineapple
it.
doesn't go on pizza. Pineapple doesn't go on pizza.
Pineapple only belongs on
You-
pizza if there's also
No,
jalapenos.
you lived it.
Ooh.
What? No, you lived
Okay.
it. What? No. Oh my
Yep.
god.
I love
Oh, my
jalapenos
God.
on pizza.
I'm just
I
Yep.
just
I-
smashed it. I made like 50 of them today.
more and more. We stray
More and
farther
more.
and farther from
We
the
stray
truth.
farther and farther from
It's
the
just.
truth.
I feel like the odd man out.
feel
here.
like the
I just
odd
feel
man
like
out.
You
the
know
odd
what,
man
one
out.
of my little-
Okay, Ethan Hunt.
You know what my dream merchandise would be is Heat Blur hot sauce.
Oh, dude.
We're gonna make that
Hot
happen.
ones.
We're gonna make that
I'm
happen.
gonna write
happen.
hot
Yes.
ones.
We're gonna make
I want
that
to see you on
happen.
hot ones.
I
Dude,
smash.
man.
I tell
you-
you guys, I'd smash them. I'm into, like, you know, I just bought I don't know how many Carolina Reapers and habaneros again to cook the next batch of hot sauce, and mine kicks ass. It's really good.
If you give me permission, I will make a heap of hot sauce for you.
We
I
can
will do
talk
it.
about it one day. But
I will
that's
do it.
Iron Mike hot sauce. This is how he kills Jester. in
no.
real life.
Here's
And we-
okay.
yeah.
I
And
shouldn't be saying that, you know. But think about the zones of an afterburner and then the gradings of the hot sauce.
Yeah.
So
Or you
that's
can
all I'm
name
gonna
each
say.
line of hot sauce after each Heapler
Yeah.
module.
Or after each zone.
You call hey,
Yeah.
the first one is mill power.
Milk power, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a nice mild. Yeah, it's just a nice mild.
And the
Milk
worst
power.
one is just Buster.
There's probably
Yeah.
a market there,
Yeah.
actually.
Because there's a market there.
Probably.
There's a market
We'll
there.
see. We'll see. First we gotta
Dude,
ship
every-
the deal.
Yeah, we'll see.
Every single snack shack in every squadron across the Air Force would buy them, hands down.
All right. So moving on
Alright,
to these.
so moving on
to these because I think this is the big one that I think a few of us want to talk about. So we know there's a long line of things that you guys are working on. It's amazing how you probably. I'm surprised. I would be shocked to hear if Heapler has anything less than like 100 employees because of all the work that you guys somehow managed to put out. But so what drove you guys to want to do the early AIM for the 14?
We promised it from the get-go. When it's a bit crazy in hindsight, you know, we had this and still have this kind of urge to deliver as much content as we can. Because, you know, you have to think about flight sims can get very, like, learning the aircraft is always the amazing phase, right? But then what do you do with it, you know? And you have things certainly that compensate for it. Like, you know, if you like 737s and you're really an avid VATSIM flyer, you always find new stuff to do because it's always going to be kind of a new situation on VATSIM. So that content kind of writes itself. But DCS is still different because it's a combat sim. So you need a lot of missions. That's one thing. We make sure, you know, we have over 500 missions for our modules, I think, or something like that. But not only that, you know, with the Tomcat especially, the Tomcat is a very special aircraft because it's very much a patchwork aircraft, you know. I mean, it had very different variants, but the iconic stuff is kind of spread out over these, you know. I mean, the F4, that's the J79, and then you get the non-smoking J79, but it's the J79, you know. But the F14 went through this TF30 and then step up to the F110s, right? And you cannot tell the Tomcat story properly if you pick just one of the two, you know. And so this was the first idea, kind of was like, if you want to really show Tomcat, then you got to show both. And then we knew that we're going to make the F4, and we knew that we're going to need the ALR 46 and ALR 45. And so it was kind of easy decision to say, like, let's use all that and then make the early A. And I know people have been waiting a very long time for it, and we apologize for that, but certain things just fall into place at certain times, and I better wait it out in that sense. It's not that we forget about our promises and the other open outstanding promises, but yeah, that's why the early A, because it's just you want to tell the Tomcat story in its entirety. With the Tomcat, that's very important. The F4, you can do just the F4E and you will have showed them kind of the essence of the F4. You don't necessarily need to do the B, the J, the S, the D, but with a Tomcat, it's different. It's one of those aircraft that really demands for you to show all those different kind of steps in evolution that it took.
So it's all for you, Sheep.
Yep.
Yeah, for you, Sheep. Yeah. So for you, Sheep. In telling the Tomcat story, like from my understanding, and you can go ahead and just shoot me down here on this if I get it wrong. But especially with the Bravo upgrade one as well coming. There's some incremental things that kind of brought it into the 2000s in it, like the upgrade avionics and things like that. So one of the big questions is everybody's asking, is it going to be smart weapon capable in the sense of JDAMs possibly, or is it going to be able to carry AMRAAMs on it? Could you talk about that, or is that like a
No, it's basically so not even the D would have AMRAAMs. I mean, they did test shots. They went into that Billy Bob, Billy Kocher, and Billy is his call sign. There's a very cool 7-hour long podcast for the 50th anniversary of the Tomcat. It has us, and it has you have Paco, you have Bio, you got Megan and Face Shot from Speed and Angels, and Billy, and Billy was majorly involved in all the testing, so he talks very nicely about it. It's a great source for those who are interested in specifically the AMRAAM and Tomcat stuff, because they were looking for ways to make the Tomcat viable beyond its point. They also managed to shoot ships with Phoenix missiles and like use Phoenix for air to ground for anti-ship stuff and whatnot. So they did a lot of crazy things, but it was never kind of fleet available, So what we model is always, we say if it was readily available in the fleet, even if it wasn't used, we offer it. It's like the Zuni rockets. No Tomcat pilot ever fired a single Zuni rocket, ever. But it was there in the fleet, and if wanted, could be mounted at any given moment, right? The AMRAAM not. So there's not going to be AMRAAMs in the Tomcat, but the JDAMs, yes. And you have the PTIDs. It's kind of like the early MFD kind of stuff. So yeah, you will have a bit more smart weapon choice, though not much more than you have in the B, because you have already the laser guided stuff, the GPUs and so on. But you will have the JDAMs, yeah.
That's so with that. Are you? I remember there was talk about porting, Jester 2.0, over into the Tomcat as well, possibly. I mean, the Jester already works pretty well in the Tomcat, despite everybody's grumbling. I think Jester works really well. I think Jester works really well. And you can have him search for stuff and things like that. So Jester's going to be able to use those weapons as well for us, and designate for us, things like that. That would be things like that. So that'd be kind of
so. I mean, here's the thing with Jester 2.0 and Tomcat. We were a little bit loudmouthed on that when we first promised it, and we may have overpromised here a bit. I have no shame, no quarrels admitting that, because in the Tomcat, Jester is much more intertwined with the code and is way less flexible to modulate than it is in the F4. I mean, a lot of those lessons went into Jester 2.0, right? Because we wanted to have something where it's easy to add, like a lure. Now it's moddable for the community, and all those kind of things, and kind of quality of life improvements that are hard-learned lessons from the Tomcat. It's not possible to just rip out Jester 1.0 and replace him with 2.0. That's not going to work. But in the scope of doing the BU, we want to, of course, bring lessons learned from the F4 now back to the F14 as well. So maybe it's not going to be just a 2.0 or most likely it won't be in that sense, but I think we can take things from Jester 2.0 and improve Jester 1.1 at least to something 1.5-ish, or if you want, because we see things that the context button is one such thing, and I don't want to promise anything yet. It needs to be seen. It's possible it's not feasible. It's possible it doesn't work well, and we have to backpedal on that. But the context button is one of the most obvious things. That's such a huge quality of life thing in the F4 that the F14 doesn't have. Maybe make him sanitize the sky a little bit more proactively on his own. I really don't like the way we modeled the kind of scan zone assignments. It's very, very micromanaging in the F14. Like you have to every 10 miles, 5,000 feet down and whatnot. Like you're basically constantly telling him to adjust. So that thing that we have in the F4, that he's looking on his own, scanning the sky, and then find something, focuses in that, and try to stay with it. If the guy goes up or down in elevation, whatever, trying to adjust the cone, to follow the guy around. That at least I think would be a huge step up in the F14. And then of course there's little bits and bobs there, but also we are of course, while doing the BU, also looking at the F14 in general, not just the B but also the A and the early A, and seeing if we cannot address just some long-standing issues or improvements and so on, without wanting to go too much into detail, because it's always a lot like case by case thing, like does it work, does it not, how much work is it worth it?
That's cool. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what you guys come out with. I can't wait to see what you guys come out with. You guys, for sure. I know we're going to try to keep this moving. Time is starting to run for me. You guys got questions?
Not on that.
So I have one. It came from our suggested content box.
Questions.
The inbox. A couple people wanted us to ask if the A and the BU are going to be separate modules, or will they come with the Tomcat that everyone's already purchased?
So the BU's gonna be probably like we haven't decided fully yet whether it's going to be standalone or DLC kind of thing, or make an overall pack. What it's not going to be is free. It's too much work to just offer it for free. Like the early A, that's a free upgrade that people are getting, or addition. It's not an upgrade, But the BU simply is as almost as much work, obviously a little less because we have the flat model and we have the frame and so on. But it's definitely a lot of work, and we need to ask something for it. Certainly, existing Tomcat owners will be rewarded in a generous way for the ownership of the F14. How, in what way, whether it's a discount, whether it's an expansion, we don't know yet, and we will see what the best is, but it will definitely be a to pay for addition to the AP.
That's fair, because I think
that's fair.
I think, one, like you said earlier, it's a company, right? You have to take care of the company, and if you guys don't produce some sort of profit for the effort, you're not going to have future modules because you guys will go broke. But I think there's also that contractual agreement where if we, the players, give you money, there's that expectation that you guys are going to polish it the same way that you've polished everything else too.
Yeah, and it just takes time, which costs. So time.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
It's going to be a standalone module, if you like.
Yeah.
How it's offered then.
Okay.
For existing owners, again, we'll see, but definitely we'll have the community in mind as always. We also cap our modules because in reality, all of these should cost a lot more than they do. I'll say it like that, right? I mean, somewhere between $300 and $500, that would be a fair price for a module, but it's something we would never ask, because then who are you making your modules for? Who can afford that? No one. It's nonsense, And so if you price it right, you will lose more money than if you price it generously and make it available. Even $80 is a lot of money, you know. Let's not kid ourselves. So people, not everybody in the world has that much money, and we always try to kind of find ways, you know, to compensate for that and support communities that live, you know, in countries that are not as lucky as we are, you know. So, but yeah, we have to still find somewhere this kind of balance where we say it's okay to ask that from the community, and it's enough that we can get by as well, because, you know, we have to think of tomorrow as well, or there won't be no heat blower.
And you know, to some people and me, when I started flying DCS, you know, $70-$80 for a module did seem like a lot in the gaming world, right? I'm not spending that much money on a game, let alone a game where I'm paying $70 for each module. But that dissolved really quickly for me, because I think it's a bargain to spend $70-$80 on a module, and now I have the ability to fly that airplane and experience it as many times as I want for as long as this game exists. So I think in when you look at the longevity and the amount of fun you can have, I think it's a bargain.
So
if you buy a module and fly it once or twice, maybe not, but for the amount of fun I've had flying all of these modules in DCS, I look back and I'm like, that, you know, $70 for a you know, years and years worth of realistic Tomcat gameplay I think it's a bargain. Moving to other stuff on the horizon, and we don't have to go super in depth on it, but it's obviously something that warrants us talking about.
Yeah, we do.
And we're all really excited, is the Eurofighter. Stoked for the Eurofighter, something totally different. You have anything you can tell us on that, that's aside from what we've been teased and edged with the 2025 and beyond, and the teasers we've been handed?
Yeah, that's not fair.
Every shot off the back of the Herc with the Eurofighters, just like right there off the ramp, you know, and we're just sitting there like, oh my gosh.
Well, I can tell it's going to be very cool, and I can say that work is steadily continuing on it, but also it's very difficult to make module just because it's modern and everything is classified, and, like, you know, obviously there's a manual online, but we can't use that because it's not online legally, and we don't, you know, you just don't do that stuff. It's a big no. And there's some people who may think, yeah, but you could still, no, you can't. You know, 100% you cannot.
It's dangerous territory.
It's not only because it's dangerous, it's also because of the respect that you have for the servicemen, the operational security, and the national security, period. You know, if you're in this business and don't respect servicemen, then again, get off the stage. It's you have no business being there. You have to respect that, because all what we get comes from this community. And if we cannot be protective towards that community in return, that's just not okay. Stop, you know. You need no law to tell me that. And so that's just one of the things that complicates Eurofighter development a lot, and which is why it makes it so much slower. And I know people are extremely impatient for it. You know, in hindsight, should have been announced later, but you don't always get to say when you can announce things, have to announce things, because, you know, the Eurofighter wasn't launched by us. It was brought into life by TrueGrid. And then we kind of found each other and started that cooperation. And it was just a point where we needed to tell the community this project isn't dead, and we will help with the development and all that kind of stuff, you know. So now the community is primed for something that takes long, you know. And so I absolutely understand the impatience that everybody has, and why can't you just show a little bit of progress and stuff. But you know us, how we are, you know, we like to show off things rather closer to the end than constant, like, here's another 3D cockpit without textures photo. I get it, you know, it's nice for the community, but it's still like, it's like, imagine you're writing a novel as a writer, you know, and you're publishing snippets and quotes from that novel every 5 days before it's even finished. it's not how you tick as a
that
rider.
makes
A
sense.
rider would want to finish that and then show you that. And that's a little bit the same for us with our modules. So that's why there's currently not that much out there on the Eurofighter. But I can assure you all, there's progress, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be such a cool aircraft. It's again, like, from the modern stuff, one of those that I find has a lot of character in it. Just from the shape and the canards, and also just how it. I've been to Zeltwig, to the Air Power, and they always make this little demo with the Eurofighter and the Hercules, where two Eurofighters fly and intercept on the Herc, and then one gets on the rear and one is on the side to communicate with the pilot. And they basically make that at slow speeds, turning right above the tiny little military airport in Zeltwig. I mean, that thing is just a blast, if you're standing right below it and it's turning there with full afterburner at 200 knots, at max AOA. It's just goosebumpy, you're just standing there vibrating with the ground.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing aircraft, and I'm really looking forward to it a lot. So
do you think
that's outstanding?
Do you think that the Eurofighter will change kind of the way DCS is played, with it being a more modern aircraft? Like, as far as like capability, how big of a splash do you think that will make inside the DCS ecosystem that we have as players?
I think that's a little bit always kind of, people are always going in that, and the Meteor will, and everybody good. But it's the same, like if you take a MiG and there's a guy flying at F-15 with an AIM-120, and you only have an R-27R, it's not much difference, it's just a longer missile with similar capabilities to an AIM-120, so the tactics are going to be similar, just at a bigger distance, or you'll have to find, like, it depends also what kind of server you fly. If you fly airquake, pick your fight, don't just rush into it and expect it to end well against the same with the Tomcat. You have to maybe position yourself a little bit off the side, watch what's unfolding. If somebody's distracted, that Eurofighter is just engaging that guy, I'm gonna snap it from the side. You have to kind of think around these things, and you already have to do that with the AIM-120 or a very long 27 ER shot at 40,000 feet or whatever. So, I don't think it's gonna change the principle of the game in any kind of way. It's gonna be just more of the same at different values, at different numbers that you have to look out for, and different distances you have to hit and stuff.
Yeah. Well, you talk about announcing, maybe you announced it early and you're holding off until it's closer to release. I will say, when it is time for you to make an announcement officially on that, you set the bar pretty high with that Phantom video. So I'm expecting amazingness, because that Phantom video is probably the greatest advertisement video for a module I've ever seen.
Yeah, for me, it's the Phantom announced trailer, and then the A4 announcement trailer, and then everything else.
The Forever Free.
Everything else it doesn't really.
Have you guys seen some of the older F-14 stuff? There's some great stuff there.
The F-14 stuff is really good. The F-14 stuff is really good.
There's some cool, but I mean, that's Cobra. He went to his background is, he also was in art and kind of he went to film school. And so that shows.
It shows, and you guys have essentially ruined that song "Baba O'Reilly" by The Who now, because every time it comes on the radio, all I can think of is F4 Phantoms. Which is, I guess, the idea, right? But moving on to some other stuff, and I think we're all really excited to talk about this, and you already mentioned it earlier in the first half, is the A6 Intruder. One of the questions we had right off the bat was whether the AI Intruder was the Heapler product, or if it was just a different dev doing an AI. And I think you said that it's Heapler, the AI is that your guys' product?
So the AI is basically part of the F-14, right? When we made the F-14, we immediately said, like, and you get an A6 Intruder AI, because to have a cool looking Tomcat mission, you need an intruder. Let's just throw it in. We're sometimes crazy like that, And then, of course, we just noticed the community was like, dude, this has to be a flyable. And we said like, yeah, we have to make it a flyable. I mean, it just needs to happen, you know.
As a member of the community, I want to put out there that I think collectively we give you permission to push all the other projects aside and just focus on the A6.
So we're so excited for that.
Thumbs up.
Like, but we're excited for it for the same reasons you mentioned it in the first half, because it's got so much character. And then you look up the history of that airplane, and there's so much really cool history behind it. And I'm like you, I'm a fan of the older airplanes, and so yeah, another older, somewhat analog jet that lands on a boat. Hell yes,
and
all day, all day.
You have Jester sitting next to you, and we have so many ideas what he's gonna do with his hands already. So like,
so Grey Wolf,
we're recording a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna get mocap. We're gonna get mocap. We're gonna get mocap.
Flicking off the pilot.
I want to see him.
That's what I was going to ask is if Grey Wolf now moves on from just voice acting to also being a hand actor. You know, motion capture hands and
like in Zoolander, I'm a hand model.
Yeah, I'm a hand model. The Bulova catalog.
I don't know if it's a step up or step down for
you. Gonna have my weird thumbs in there.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
Oh my god!
Double jointed thumbs.
It's gonna turn from a voice job into a hand job.
Hell yeah! Now we're talking. Dang, this dude fits in around here.
Heatblur is always pushing the boundaries.
No, but yeah, the cool thing is this, that we're at a position now. We have one project is not blocking the other. We can run stuff parallel now, and I'm not going to say more on that for now. Because I know that Cobra is planning more of a bigger update and announcement on that and all that. But yeah, we have guys working on all the things simultaneously. So the Intruder, the flyable Intruder, is already in full development swing. So
nice. Do we know? Can you announce? I'm sure you know, but we don't know. Can you tell us what model A6 it's going to be?
We haven't fully settled yet because it depends a bit on information feasibility and all those kind of things, but it's going to be around a tram-ish thing. I know people would like to see a SWIP probably, but I don't think it's going to be a SWIP for various reasons. But yeah, I think tram somewhere around there.
I'm not familiar with tram or SWIP.
Research now.
So it's an A6E, and it has
it is an E,
and it has it's not going to be a Prowler or anything like that. And maybe one day we might offer a KA6 a flyable, but also the A6
refueling.
Yeah, but this is already one cool thing. The A6 actually offers body pop refueling. And so here's a little thing I can tell you guys already: when the A6AI drops, you will be able to refuel off of it.
So we have more people to tell us to return to pre-contact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna. If you guys do the buddy fueling for the full fidelity, I'm just gonna sit there and I'm just gonna take a tracks.
Dude, I was thinking the same. I'm old enough now that I will just enjoy orbiting there for 1 hour and just like, come on, boys, get the fuel. And feeling like a hero flying towards them just so they don't fall out of the sky. I saved your ass.
It's such a common thing to hear too, in such a like aggressive and dynamic environment that people fly in, dropping bombs and shooting planes down. How many people are like just jonesing to be the air refueling pilot? It was the same with the C-130. Like when with the talk about there being a refueling version. There's so many people they're so ready to just drive circles and give gas.
If I get my combat king, I'm gonna be so happy. I'm gonna be so happy. And he's talked about that. If I can get a combat king, I'm cool.
I have two questions. First one, for the AI for the refueler, will that be the voice of Grayson?
No, that's gonna be the DCS inherent stuff.
Second one, For the Jester,
Makes me feel better about being told to go to pre-contact.
For the Jester 3.0 in the Intruder, if we have a long, if it's possible, if we could go, if there's like a timer where there's no radio comms, no nothing, Jester reaches over and starts picking his nose. Is that possible?
Probably. I mean, like, it depends a bit on how DCS will progress with inverse kinematics and all that stuff. You know, if we get that, then we can do a whole lot of stuff like just sitting there and just like showing you this because they're in front of your face.
Yeah,
don't do that because then
I'm waiting to hear. I'm waiting to hear Grayson say, "Don't look at me. I'm using the piddle pad.
Yeah.
Don't look over here. I'm using the piddle pad."
With the splash effects when you roll at the right moment.
Yeah, you guys absolutely knocked it out of the park with the Phantom and the grease pen. That is something that we now want.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things. Oh, that's one of my favorite things.
So practical, you slap down a 9-line, easy, right there. You know, all you gotta do is look there. And then also the ability to.
Nobody does that.
And then also the ability to, you know, write out "I'm with stupid," you know, is also fantastic. And
that's the
I actually heard one critique, and so I dropped in on a it was a training flight with another group that we're partnered with. And they have a bunch of people in the F4, and they're doing a long training sortie.
Go ahead and shout them
out.
Like, go ahead and shout them out.
Go take flight. Yeah. So I dropped it on take flight. You know, I'm doing some mission editor stuff. You know, getting the campaign ready, and I'm in there, and I'm like, oh yeah. You know, we're talking about the Tomcat and the F4, and they're like, man, they really messed up with the grease pen. I was like, oh yeah, it's awesome, right? And they're like, no. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you know, we keep drawing so much stuff, but now we can't see out the canopy. I'm like, you drew it, dude.
I'm gonna see if I can black out the whole thing.
I'm sitting there like, there's this thing called self-control, you know, but
the heck's that?
Apparently there's a limit to how many, you know, things you can draw on a window and maintain visibility.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Knocked it out of the park with that. And we're like just want to circle back. Extremely excited about the Intruder.
Yeah.
Especially with the Tomcat, the Phantom, the Intruder that you guys are putting out, especially with the Spidey sense that there's the second green map that we're promised. We're hoping for a Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. So if that is what we think is on the way, the environment
F4s
is going to be perfect for all these modules.
A4s,
DCS Renaissance.
A4s. Oh my god!
Because it was to quote Wags, you know, he did the big announcement or the big community, I don't know, touch base last November, and he said that there was 2 green maps in development, and one is Germany, and one is still out there aloof in the wind.
Well, he's next. So he's next. He's next.
Yeah, we'll ask him.
So Wags, you can't hide from us on this. Wags, you can't hide. We're gonna
all those guns hot.
Think,
all the guns hot questions for Wags gonna be perfect.
Like this is me being a community customer client side speculator now, but I think at some point there's gotta be Vietnam. You know, I mean,
has to be.
I don't know nothing about it. I'm gonna say it as it is, but I think it would be a huge missed opportunity if TCS wouldn't do. Obviously, it's difficult to do because A, bunch of trees, bad performance. B, Vietnam is really cool when those trees are really destructible. You know, like you have to have those greater fields of devastation in that forest, kind of like then it's really that Vietnam thing. You know.
Oh yeah,
and you can't have bulletproof trees.
Yeah, but I think, you know, technology keeps progressing. Just look at how DCS looked 10 years ago and how it looks today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and people always say like, oh, they're never working on DCS. It's not true, man. Come on, just go online and look up the video called Project X, which was the announcement video for the 810. Just look at how it looked back then and how it looks today. And you cannot say they never fix anything. No, it's not true. DCS keeps progressing so much, and it's amazing.
Well, and they're optimizing it more and more now too, because I remember Marianas did not run very good because of all the trees, and now I'm flying over the Berlin map, the Germany map, and it's covered in trees, and the performance is, you know, it does take a hit, but it's a lot better than I expected flying over the forests. So yeah, it's constantly getting better, and it will only get better from here, especially with developers like you guys putting out top-notch, like gold standard products. I think we're kind of at a time limit here where we need to wrap it up reluctantly, because we could have this conversation going on just
forever,
forever and ever and ever. But we can't. I think Jimmy has one last question, and then we can start to wrap everything up.
So first, before the wrap-up question, is there any way we could convince Heatblur to invest into a full fidelity tank of any sorts?
Tank?
Mm-hmm.
You mean like a Panzer, like an Abrams, or?
Yep.
Actually, we talked about that not too long ago. Not to set any expectation, guys.
Too late. We're excited.
Heatblur is not doing a tank.
Listening.
Remember, Iron Mike said no. Anyway,
not with that attitude.
but yeah, I mean, those are fun thoughts, of course, and we have these fun thoughts as well, of course, and it kind of would be cool, but I think that DCS would have to be more accommodating towards ground stuff still before that would really be kind of a viable decision for us to go down that road. I think there's room for improvement left. But I also think that right now is not the time to focus on that. I mean, there's so much in the sky that still needs adding, fixing, adjusting, improvement, and then maybe one day, because everybody's dreaming of the Holy Grail, this kind of like Utopia sim where you have Arma and Steel Beasts Pro and Silent Hunter and DCS and Naval whatnot all in one thing, kind of. And maybe in 20, 30, 40 years, whatever, we have something like that. But, I mean, it's utopia for now. But it would be cool. I mean, I love tanks, so it would be nice to have a tank. But no, at the moment, there are no such plans.
All right. So second question, and this one will start to lead into closing us out. Do you have anything cooking that is in the background that you could, talk about? Whether it's an update or a module or a map or,
We have stuff cooking in the background, but I cannot yet talk about it.
You're Iron Mike, dude.
He's just teasing us now.
Oh my gosh.
Jimmy always tries.
Just to get that out of the way, because at some point we said, and some people get that unfortunately wrong, we never said that the Wigan will come with a map. We said we were thinking about doing a Baltics map back then because it was fitting. Now we have the Kola map.
Yeah,
we still have no plans in doing the map. We just think, there's developers out there where it's their core competence, like Ugra and Onritech and Raspberry did great maps. So this is not our core competency. Would we love to do maps one day? Sure, but it's always, the list is already so long. But there are other things that we have cooking in the background that we didn't announce yet. And we will announce them in due time. There's many reasons for why to announce what when. That's why that's a very hard tease, guys. I know, I'm sorry for that, but you asked, so
that's okay.
But just knowing that Heatblur is cooking stuff that we don't know about yet, is enough information, because it is exciting because you guys set the standard for what a fleshed out module is, So.
And that's why things take long. We gotta get it right, and we owe that to the community, in my opinion. And so things take a while.
Oh, I think it's worth the wait.
But I hope it's worth the wait. And rather because everybody's upset when the release is delayed for 2-3 months, but a month in flying, nobody remembers that anymore. So you will remember buggy release though.
Yeah, if we could wish list one thing, not a tank, we could wish list one thing from Heatblur, it would be a flying fortress.
That would be awesome.
Full crew.
Or P30.
All right. On that note, Grey Wolf, as always, welcome anytime. Thank you for being back.
Thank you.
Is our de facto
Again
pop in whenever you want,
I
host.
think it's episode 5 or 6 for you, right?
Yeah, he's like been. He's kind of
just
around everywhere.
Yeah, he just walks in and parks himself on the couch whenever he wants. It's perfect.
Podcasting
and Iron Mike, thank you for being here to talk to us about.
Thanks for staying up late.
Heatblr
staying up late.
Yes,
and staying up late all the way over there in Europe.
4 a.m.
And yeah.
Oh.
Woo. But also thanks for both of you guys for participating in the stuff we do and being a partner and participating in the dogfight tournament and the giveaways and all that stuff. It means a lot to us. Super glad to have you guys on here. Super glad to be able to just sit down and chit chat with you about what you've done and what's up on the horizon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
awesome.
having me. It's great what you do. I mean, I love listening to the podcast, and I hope you have many more. Happy to be back whenever you want me to. If I didn't babble too much, which I likely did.
Not at all.
Dude,
And,
this is why we're here, is to hear people talk. This is why we're here, is to hear people talk.
But yeah, I mean, we're always happy to do something with you guys. You can always holler at me, and you know, like I always say, we like to be on eye level with the community always. So there's no barriers here, just, you know, or through Grey Wolf, whatever, have a shout. Hopefully one day we get to fly together a bit as well. Would be nice.
Yes.
Need to find time for that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for the community and everybody out there listening and having the patience with Heatblr and our slowness sometimes. But yeah, like I said, I hope it's worth the wait in the end. So
thoroughness. No, not.
Yeah, that's not slowness.
Yeah,
That's not slowness. Thoroughness. So
yeah.
On that note, dad advice, daddy Jimmy Chaos, daddy Jimmy Chaos.
Gosh, guys, I have one thing to do around here and I forgot.
Every time.
Every single time. So remember, when you meet new people, always say hello and be polite. Unless they offer you free modules, then run away.
Wait, what?
I'm getting in that band.
What? I'm getting Oh,
Ban says free DCS modules. I'm getting kidnapped.
Dang. All right, Grey Wolf, you want to take us out with the closer?
You bet. Thanks for having us on, and as always, Rifle Kazoo.